Hello everyone, Robin here. This is part of our Rippa Snarlfang content. As I said in the our little unboxing, we're really pressed for time today, so I'm going to rattle through these universal cards for you. I thought I'd do it as a separate video because people could watch it if they want. If they don't want to play Rippas, they can just look at the universal. So I've done that as a separate little video. I'm going to go straight into it now. Let us know what you think of the cards. There's some pretty good ones in there. There's some indifferent ones in there as usual, but I think there's a good set of cards. It's going to obviously shake up the meta. So do let me know in the comments below what you think. Okay, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because there's some more written and probably more measured content out there. Do check on Well of Power for the good stuff on there, and check out Aman's blog as well. He always does good coverage. So what have we got? I'm going to go through the objectives first. I've got Gathered Momentum. Let's zoom in a little. Gathered Momentum. It's a surge hybrid. Score this immediately if you score a second subsequent surge objective card in this phase. Definitely doable. Means 1 glory, or a friendly fighter makes a charge action and each ends that action 5 or more hexes from the hex in which they began the action. Well, I think that's going to cause some consternation. Cover ground is 6 hexes, but they could be all over the place. What does 5 hexes mean? I think that's going to need to be clarified a little bit. I guess it's going to be 5 as the crow flies, like the 4 range of 4, I guess. But I think probably it's going to go through blocked hexes. But what about going around? I guess going around corners. I'm not sure. So it's going to be interesting. I guess you just count around the corner. So maybe it'll be okay. But that's Gather Momentum. I think for 1 glory, I'm not sure I'd include that. It's not. I think I'd be more inclined to go for combination strike, which okay, you haven't got the other option, but it's quite hard to get for most warbands. It's hard to get 5 or more hexes away. So I think for most warbands, I'll be going for the 2 glory equivalent. Okay, so then we've got Run Ragged. Run Ragged. Score this in end phase if each surviving fighter has 1 or more move or charge actions. That's 2 glory. That's definitely scoreable for 2 glory. You obviously would have to be playing in a certain way in order to score that. Steady Assault. Surge. Another surge card. Score this immediately after the same friendly fighter's third subsequent attack action in a single phase. I'm pretty sure I would never take that. Maybe if I was playing Mollog. But no, it's not a card I'm going to be taking, I don't think. Temporary Victory. Now this card I could definitely see getting a lot of traction. It's 2 glory. It's score immediately, so it's surge, and it's after an activation if your warband holds 3 or more objectives. It's 2 glory. With people going out for supremacy and all that kind of stuff, I feel like, you know, if you could score this and supremacy, it's immense. So I definitely think that will be out there. And of course, it's much harder to stop. A little bit harder to set up, maybe, but harder to stop, certainly. Duck and Parry. Score this immediately after an attack action that targets a friendly fighter with 1 or more guard tokens fails. Well, guard tokens. There was 1 or more guard tokens, interestingly. So not just being on guard, but duck and parry. I could see that people might use that. And another 2 glory one. Score this a third end phase if there are 3 or more surviving friendly hunters. I'm not sure I've seen enough hunters, enough warbands with enough hunters to make that worth taking. It's risky for 2, but it is worth 2 glory. Beyond Mortal. One for the Mollog players, I think this is. It's a hybrid. Score this in an end phase if a friendly fighter has 4 or more wound takers, or a surviving friendly fighter has a move and or wound takers characteristic of 8 or more. That's pretty immense, unless you're Mollog. Brought to Bay. There's a surge and a duel. Score this immediately if a friendly hunter makes an attack action that takes an enemy fighter out of action and you're in enemy territory. So it's a bit like Advancing Strike, I suppose. Score immediately. It's pretty much it. You have got to use an attack action to take the fighter out of action. And finally, Committed. Score this in an end phase. Each surviving friendly fighter is adjacent to 1 or more enemy fighters, or 1 or more friendly fighters are each adjacent to 3 or more enemy fighters. So you've got to be committed. Basically, you've either got to get people next to each other or get somebody in the thick of it. Quick look then at the universal card. We've got Invert Terrain, which is a gambit spell. If cast, pick 1 feature token with 5 hexes, a focus required. If 5 hexes of the caster, flip that token. So that's the gambit spell. Interesting. Overkill. Play this after a friendly fighter's attack action that took an enemy fighter out of action. If the attack action dealt more damage than was necessary, the target out of action gained 1 spent glory point. So you're gaining a spent glory for effectively doing. I can't remember what there was a Shadespire. There was a Shadespire objective which kind of did the same thing. I can't remember exactly what it was called. But you get 1 spent glory, so you can't spend it. But it's an interesting one. So a ploy that gives you glory. Interesting. Hunting band. Choose 1 friendly hunter and any number of adjacent friendly hunters. Give each chosen fighter 1 guard token. Could be really good, this card, particularly if you're trying to stay where you are. Again, it's always hard to tell until the meta falls out exactly which cards are good. Off the top of my head, I'm particularly not good at picking, unless they're really obvious little sneaky cards, but that definitely could be there or thereabouts. Dangerous prize. Pick 1 objective in an empty hex. The first fighter to move into it be pushed or be placed in the same hex as the objective token in the next activation is dealt 1 damage. Well, we know what that's all trying to stop. Downwind. Place 1 friendly hunter 1 hex closer to an enemy fighter. That enemy fighter is a quarry. This effect persists until that enemy fighter is taken out of action. A pretty good card, and as the more and more quarry type mechanics come in, it's potentially a good card. Certainly you've got almost like a free push with a bonus there. Choose 1 enemy fighter in your territory that is in or adjacent to 1 or more lethal hexes. That fighter is dealt 1 damage. Oh, hostile ground. Yeah, it goes in your territory, but that could be good, especially if you're like somebody like Thundrix who invites people on, and those lethal hexes can be a real pain for you, but actually you can use them to your advantage because it's adjacent on or adjacent to, which is pretty nice. Unexpected peril. Pick 1 feature token in an empty hex in your territory. Assume that means empty of people rather than empty of feature tokens, and you can flip that token. So that's a way of getting towards your coveted spoils and Gitz infestation and all that kind of stuff. Unexpected peril, but of course it does give you a sudden lethal hex in your area, which you may not want. So it is in your territory only. Tracking. +1 moves the first fighter to make a move action, with quite a few movement 5 characters out there now, and that will give you cover ground. It's +2 instead of that if the fighter is a hunter. It's pretty good. So that's a good card for the hunters and cover ground, which is now back in the game. SPINETOAD TOXIN. This one's been spoiled before. It's choose an enemy fighter adjacent to 1 or more friendly fighters. The enemy fighter is dealt 1 damage after each move action they make. Whoa, that's a really nasty card. This effect persists until the enemy fighter is out of action. That could be crippling to certain warbands. That is tough, I think. Then the Avatar of the UR-GRUB. Now this is actually spoiled in this month's White Dwarf, but this card isn't, but there are a couple of others are. So there's a few cards which are UR-GRUB's gifts, I think. So this one cannot be included in your deck. This card cannot be removed from this fighter. This fighter is a quarry. Their fighters range 1 and range 2 actions have +1 damage and ensnare. And there's also a reaction. After this fighter's successful range 1 or range 2 attack action, heal 1 this fighter. So basically, if you successfully attack, you can heal and you get +1 damage. Now in the upgrades, so we have moved to the upgrades now, there is also the sting of the UR-GRUB. Now this UR-GRUB aspect, +1 damage to this fighter's range 1 attack action. So you're already getting +1. And if you have 3 or more of these aspects, you remove it and replace it with this card, which doesn't go in your deck. It's an interesting new mechanic and a way of adding extra things. I'm not entirely sure I like it. Not sure I'll necessarily use it. The Amberbone Hammer. I think this has been spoiled before. It's got a hammer with knockback 1. If it takes an enemy fighter out of action, you discard it and gain 1 glory point. So you do get 2 glory for the kill with the Amberbone Hammer. Hidden Presence. This is not about Christmas like you might think it could be, but this fighter is a quarry. If the fighter is a quarry, players cannot choose this fighter when a gambit is played. Now this is another interesting mechanic, and it does use some tokens. It's a reaction, it's a Hungry Realmstone, which has a reaction. It's an upgrade, but with a reaction. After an activation, that's any activation, place 1 potency counter on this card and lose 1 glory point. +1 damage. This thing gives +1 damage. This fighter's range 1 and range 2 attack actions. Not so good for Thundrix. For each potency counter on this card. So it makes them really quite powerful. But you do have to spend glory. But that's going to be a really interesting one. Good for aggro warbands maybe. But you have got to be glory rich to use it. Interesting card, that one. Really interesting. You can see it could definitely be worth it if you had Tome of Offerings and a couple of the other sort of trophy belt type cards. And that to just go round. taking people off, because you don't lose the potency counters. So you could recoup your glory loss if you've got that kind of doubling up. And we've got Ayara's Instant Shield, which is a spell reaction. So it's an upgrade with a spell reaction. You use it during an attack action that targets this fighter. After the attack roll, if cast, you can re-roll any number of dice in the defense roll. So during an attack action that targets this fighter, after that roll, if cast, you can re-roll any number of dice in the defense roll for that attack action. So yeah, so that's a pretty good card. It's effectively, a better way of making you a bit stronger, and it's a lost page, and we're interested to see what these lost pages will bring us. Inescapable Blow. Now this is another card where you need 2. So this card comes with Opening Strike, which is a range 1 attack with 3 swords and 1 damage. Not that good, but it has combo under here, which we've never seen before. But then on Inescapable Blow, reaction, after this fighter's successful attack action with combo, make this attack action. So you basically get to make it like a 2... So just whack, bang, stab them and whack them. After this fighter's successful attack action with combo, make this attack action. It must target the same fighter and has cleave and ensnare. So it's pretty immense. It's 2 hammers, 2 swords, but you have got to get your 3 sword, 1 damage attack off. But with something like great strength, this combo could really be powerful. But of course, you are looking at putting your at least 2 cards in 1 basket, and possibly 3 to make it even stronger. So it's a risk. There's always a risk with combos. But that's a really interesting idea, and another way the way the game is developing. Lethal Snares, another interesting card. So this is a reaction, it's an upgrade, but after this fighter ends a push or a move action in a hex that contains a feature token, or is placed in a hex that contains a feature token, flip that token. So I think this is more than the White Dwarf this week, but it also, basically is more about ruining that objective meta, which is becoming very strong, but you can ruin it and unruin it and do damage and all sorts of things. Lethal Snares has got real potential to be really interesting. And then possibly my favourite card of the lot, last at the end here, is Repeating Mirror. It's an upgrade, but you have a reaction after an enemy wizard casts a spell other than a spell attack action. So not when they're shooting you with their staff, but if they're using Sphere of Axia or something like that, and the spell is resolved, resolve that spell again with the same casting roll result, but do as if this fighter was the caster and a wizard. Then discard this card. So that could be huge. Like Abyssos's are making, they screw you up, you screw them up, or you get towards your infestation with your gits on there. It's all possible. I know he's a Ripper git rather than a Zarbag git, but you get what I mean. I think this has got huge potential. Sort of the magic meta fluctuates to and fro, and you think, this could be, if it gets powerful again, this could be really good. So I really like that card. I think it's a really nice card. So that is all the universals. Let me know which your favourites are. Let me know which ones you think you might take. Do check out our other videos. I've gone through the Beastgrave gift pack, and I'm going to go through Rippa Snarlfang as well. But yeah, it's exciting times in the Beastgrave.